Happy Monday, YouTube. Hope you had a great weekend. Please help us out by liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Let's recap the weekend and talk about one of the best prospects in the game. Up next, it is happening. Corbin Carroll is here. Well, he's going to be here on Monday. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Monday, August 29th. Frank Stampfl joined by the Scotty Dubs, Scott White. Today on the show, we got a whole bunch of weekend recap, waiver wire ads, drops, starter sit, and much more. Scotty, how was the weekend? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing good. Doing great. What about you?
About to be doing a lot better now that we can talk about Corbin Carroll. I did watch the first episode of House of the Dragon, Scott. Loved it. Thought it was awesome.
All right.
I look forward to
I'll get to it in 5 years or so.
I was going to say, I look forward to talking to you about it in like 7 years from now. It's going to be great. Anyway, let's lead things off. Even before, oh my goodness gracious, we got to talk about Corbin Carroll reportedly getting called up here on Monday by the Diamondbacks. Arguably the top prospect in baseball, 22 years old, first round pick back in 2019. Smaller dude, 5'10", but definitely packs a punch. 5-tool player, an outfielder this season in the minors. Massive numbers, 307 batting average, 24 homers, 31 steals, and OPS up over 1,000. He's 45% rostered, Scotty, widely available. And as we said about Vaughn Grissom recently, this might be a league-winning type ad at this point in the season, a little bit over a month left. What are you expecting from Corbin Carroll? And do you agree that he's a must-add?
Well, we weren't saying that about Grissom when he first got called up, remember? It just, the play made it appear that it could be the case. And that's kind of been the frustrating thing with these prospect call-ups is it's just they've been so hit or miss. Corbin Carroll, the talent level is so high that, this is a no-brainer pickup, regardless of 3 outfielder, 5 outfielder, 10, 12, 15-team league. Everybody should be making a play for Corbin Carroll, and we'll see how it goes. For him, it's gone very, very well at every level he's played at. And it's been, it's taken him, it's taken 4 years, and yet only 142 career minor league games because you had the season lost to the pandemic. He lost most of last season to an injury. Only played 7 games last year, but even with those interruptions, starting out as an 18-year-old, playing through those 142 games, climbing the whole minor league ladder, Corbin Carroll has looked like a premier prospect at every stop, providing plenty speed, good contact skills, good on-base skills. The power has really come around, and he would be mine. I presume the Diamondbacks waited this long to call him up so that he will retain rookie eligibility into next year. So I'm going to go ahead and say Corbin Carroll. I expect him to be my number 1 prospect going into next year. Kind of depends somewhat how this first major league stint goes, but that's what I'm expecting. That's the kind of confidence I have in him. If there is something to question about Corbin Carroll, it's the power. He is a little guy. He's listed at 5'10". I don't know. He looks a little smaller than that even when you watch him play. He doesn't look like this imposing presence at the plate.
He's jacked up for a little guy, though, Scotty.
Yeah. Okay. He looks little to me. You see highlights of him and you're like, that's Corbin Carroll? Like, that's not what I'm picturing when I look at the numbers and then see him play. And also, 24 home runs in 93 games this year. That's mostly split between AA Amarillo, AAA Reno, 2 really favorable places to hit. And we've seen that with Alec Thomas. Alec Thomas put up good power numbers at both of those spots. And we haven't seen the power so much in the majors. I think in general, people were more skeptical of the power for Alec Thomas than they are for Corbin Carroll, but there is some skepticism for Carroll too in that regard. And I think that's why he's not the consensus number 1 prospect among all the evaluators, but he is a consensus top 3, top 4 prospect, so everybody likes him. Everybody thinks he's going to be good. This is, like I said, coming up to the majors after only 142 games in the minors. didn't play most of last season, but it could go really well. You definitely, the talent is easy to see. No matter what you're looking for and how you normally measure talent.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point on the power. MLB.com has a 50 grade on Corbin Carroll's power, out as does Fangraphs for both in-game power and raw power. 50 grade for that, but 65 on the hit tool, 70 on the run. Even if the power isn't as great, I mean, we're like the hit and the speed is definitely there for Corbin Carroll. It's just a matter of whether or not he'll hit the ground running here, or if it will take time, which we've seen obviously with a lot of prospects. How does he rank among these outfielders, Scott, who either just continue to play well in the case of a Lars Nootbaar, who had another home run here on Sunday, or Riley Green and Tommy Pham, who both had big weekends? Riley Green, 7 hits, including a home run on Friday, and over his last 7 games, he's batting 467 with 2 homers. And then Tommy Pham had 6 hits this weekend, including a home run on Sunday. So rank those 4: Carroll, Riley Green, Pham, Nootbaar.
If this was June, I think it'd be easy to put Corbin Carroll at the top because it's the end of August and you can't really afford to mess around. I know a lot of my head-to-head leagues are already in the playoffs. If not, then they're about to begin in the next week or two. That might cause me to lean Lars Nootbaar number 1 if I need the production right now. But that's the only one I'd even consider over Corbin Carroll. Pham would be 3rd and Riley Green 4th.
Okay. And that's not what have you seen from Riley Green recently? I was going to say, like, that's not a knock against Riley Green because all these guys are pretty good, but are you actually buying this recent hot stretch for Riley Green?
I don't know. I feel like it's too early to take anything away from it. Obviously, this was a consensus top 5 prospect coming into the season, so this hot stretch could be him coming into his own. But it's not like with Vinny Pasquantino when he heated up and it's like, oh yeah, judging from the underlying numbers, this makes sense. Like we were waiting for this to happen with Pasquantino, and it's finally happening. With Riley Green, high strikeout rate, high ground ball rate, and he hasn't been running at all, which is something he did a little bit in the minors. So there's really a lot of pressure on the bat, and between the ground ball rate and the strikeout rate, it's gonna take more than a 6-game hot streak or whatever it is for me to be won over.
Last question on Corbin Carroll. I'll throw a few names your way, Scott. Ones that we keep getting questions about whether people could drop them or not. Ketel Marte, would you drop him for Corbin Carroll?
Yeah, I don't see much harm in that. I mean, Ketel Marte is not doing much for you.
Yeah. Whit Merrifield, same thing?
Yep.
JD Martinez?
Yep.
And last one, Cody Bellinger.
Sure. Yeah.
All
Clean
right.
sweep.
So 4 bigger names there. Could drop those for Corbin Carroll. We'll get to a few other prospect promotions that we had this weekend later on, but let's get into, oh my goodness gracious.
Oh my goodness gracious.
All right, some standouts from the weekend, and unfortunately, it looks like we're going to start with a negative one. Scotty, who you got?
I know. We don't usually go the negative route with oh my goodness gracious, but this was definitely an oh my goodness gracious for me. Josh Hader. That's right. I'm going to be a hater here today. 6 earned runs in his 1/3 of an inning against the Royals on Sunday. And, obviously the Padres removed him. It was about a week ago, right? They removed him from the closer role, the usual. We're gonna give him a break. We're gonna give him a break. We know who Josh Hader is, how talented he is, but he needs a break because he's not doing well. Okay. Still not doing well even amid this break, clearly. And just to shine a light on how bad it's been for Josh Hader, he began this season with 19 straight scoreless appearances. His ERA entering June was 0.00. Didn't allow his first earned run till June 7th. His ERA is now 6.52.
Oof.
Yeah. yeah, it's been awful. And like, it's hard to, I don't know exactly what's going on. It's almost like it's a mental thing. I mean, stuff wise, it's not like he's lost a bunch of velocity or anything, but I was watching some of this performance against the Royals. He like bounced a pitch 2 feet in front of home plate. He had one, the catcher had to leap out of his crouch to keep it from going to the backstop, like he's just all kinds of messed up. So my stance with Josh Hader was, okay, obviously there's no reason to start him while he's out of the closer role, but he's going to get this turned around pretty quickly. You want to hold on to him. Like he could, once he gets it right, he could be the best closer in baseball from that point forward. But now I'm not so optimistic about that. I do think it is kind of a light switch thing where once he does find it again, he'll probably be fine. But he's been searching for a while now and keeps coming up empty. So I think at this stage of the season, kind of, it depends on how deep the league is, how easy it is to find saves off the waiver wire, all of that. But I mean, it's to the point where you might have reason to drop Hader, and I don't think you should necessarily hesitate to do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is mental right now, Scott. I don't know exactly what's going on with Josh Hader, but a 6.52 ERA, as you pointed out, is just bananas based on how he started the season. So 94% rostered is Josh Hader. I think, in like 12-team points league, Scott, where we have Sparps and a decent amount of closer options emerging and just a shallower format in general. Yeah, I think you could drop Josh Hader in a spot like that. Deeper 12-team, 15-team category leagues, if you have 2 or 3 other save sources, then all right, maybe you can, but I think it's really going to be a case-by-case basis, depending on your roster and what your needs are, like how much you need saves.
So I saw going through my leagues for weekly waiver claims tonight. Clay Holmes out there in one league, and they keep saying it's going to be a minimal IL stay. That means if that's true, he'll be back Monday. Yep. You drop Hader for Holmes, right? I mean, I know Holmes had been removed from the closer role before the IL stint, but since then, Roldis Chapman on the IL, Scott Efros on the IL. Like they're going to go back to Holmes as a closer. They have to, right?
I don't know if it will happen right away, but in a shallower league, yes, I would make that move because I think, they get Clay Holmes like 1 or 2 appearances as long as he looks like himself. I don't know that those will be save opportunities right away, but I think it has the potential to turn into that very quickly for him. So yeah, that's a move that I would be looking to make. Speaking of the Padres, Scott, on Saturday, Nick Martinez gave up a hit, but picked up his 6th save of the season. He's 11% rostered. Do you have a lean in this bullpen? Obviously, outside of Hader, is it Nick Martinez? Is it Luis Garcia, who's pitched very well for the team? What do you think?
I think, look, I suspect they're going to keep mixing it around, but Nick Martinez now has back-to-back saves for them, and Luis Garcia was rested for this game. He hadn't pitched since the 23rd. When was that? Tuesday. He hadn't pitched since Tuesday. So it seems like they're leaning Nick Martinez.
Yeah, in deeper leagues, those 15-team roto leagues, I was looking to add Nick Martinez on Sunday night. I didn't get him anywhere because I have next to no fab left. So, but for those who do have fab left or just waiver claims, whatever it might be, yeah, I kind of like adding Nick Martinez in those deeper leagues. Oh my goodness gracious, for me, I got Kyle Bradish here, Scotty, and there was just a few pitchers this weekend. Where did this stuff come from? I have no idea, but let's talk about those names. Bradish had a season high 8 shutout innings at the Houston Astros. He had 6 strikeouts with 17 swinging strikes on 96 pitches. 13 of those came on a slider, and it's a pretty good slider. I mean, he leaned all the way into it in this start. He threw it 51% of the time, and that's only 28% on the season, so nearly doubled his usage of the slider in this start. The overall numbers still don't look good, Scotty, for Kyle Bradish. Swinging strike rate is solid at 10.5%. He's 7% rostered at the Cleveland Guardians this week. What do you think about Kyle Bradish?
Well, I mean, if this change in approach sticks, it may be the key to unlocking his upside. He basically flipped the fastball and slider usage, throwing that slider more than 50% of the time, and that the fastball a little more than a quarter of the time. when normally it's exactly flipped. So that was an interesting change he made. And yeah, I mean, we've seen pitchers have a lot of success with using their best pitch more. You know, in all of those cases, it's usually some kind of off-speed pitch like this. And we've seen them take off. Bradish had good numbers in the minors, especially with strikeouts, and he did this. Who was the opponent again?
The Astros.
Yeah, so he did this against a good opponent. I couldn't remember who it was exactly, but so you know, keep an eye on it. I'm not rushing to add him based on this, but keep an eye on it. The Orioles are, the Orioles are not bad. So if he pitches well, he might get some wins.
Yeah, I mean, they are getting the best out of their pitchers right now. But I mentioned there was a few of these kind of where did these guys come from this weekend type of performances. And Rich Hill turned in a double-digit strikeout start for the first time since May 25th of last year. He was up against the Tampa Bay Rays. He went 7 shutout, 3 hits, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts, had 12 swinging strikes in that one. And then Adam Oller pitches for the Oakland A's, by the way. He has quietly turned in 3 quality starts in a row, and he threw a gem against the Yankees on Saturday. He went 8 shutout. He gave up just 1 hit, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts in that one. And he throws 6 different pitches, Scott, between 9% and 33% of the time on the season. So kind of like this jack of all pitches, master of none kind of situation for Adam Oller. The overall numbers still look terrible. So I don't know. Maybe he just caught the Yankees on an off night, whatever it might be. But any excitement for either Rich Hill or Adam Oller?
Not really. I prefer Bradish to both of them, and I don't think I gave a ringing endorsement of Bradish. Obviously, Rich Hill has been a fantasy asset in the past. He's really old, and this was only his 4th quality start all year. So I'm not putting much value on it, as good as it was. And Oller, very high fly ball rate. Not a big strikeout rate at all. He's got an xFIP of 6 this year, and it's hard to get an xFIP that high. It really is.
Yeah, not great. All right, so not doing much with either of those. But while we were talking about it, let's just get into the rest of the waiver wire pitchers from the weekend. Obviously, those other names in much deeper leagues: Bradish, Rich Hill, and Adam Oller. But let's start with the names up top in the more shallower format, Scotty. These are players that are rostered in over 60% of CBS leagues. Reed Detmers had a solid start at the Blue Jays. He went 5 1/3 shutout with 5 strikeouts in that one. Kyle Gibson turned in a great start against the Pirates. He went 7 shutout with 9 strikeouts. He is going up against the Giants this week. Detmers going up against the Astros, unfortunately. Alex Cobb had a solid start at the Twins. He went 5 shutout with 7 strikeouts going up against the Phillies this week. And Nick Lodolo, another quality start here on Sunday at the Nationals. 7 innings, 3 runs, 5 strikeouts. And he is at home against the Rockies this week, Scott. I think more than anything, we probably should just focus on matchups at this point, Scott, because we're playing it week to week. I don't think we care as much about season-long upside. So in terms of these matchups this week, Lodolo versus the Rockies, Cobb versus the Phillies, Gibson versus the Giants, and Detmers versus the Astros. Who do you like most?
Well, I don't know that I want to completely throw out the rest of season perspective, because I think the one I'm least likely to start of this 4 next week is probably Reed Detmers going against the Astros. And yet I don't want it to say, I don't think anybody should be dropping Reed Detmers.
Agreed.
For Kyle Gibson or whatever. So yeah, if we're just looking at next week, though, I think I would rank them Gibson against the Pirates, Lodolo against the Rockies, Cobb at who's Cobb facing? Who's Alex Cobb facing?
Cobb's going against the Phillies, and Gibson, by the way, Scott, is at the Giants, not the Pirates.
Okay, sorry. I was looking at who they just started against. All right. Let me start over then. I don't think Detmers is the one I'd be least likely to start. Okay, so the one I'd be most likely to start is actually Nick Lodolo against the Rockies, followed by Detmers against Houston, I think. And then Alex Cobb against the Phillies, Kyle Gibson against the Giants, or at San Francisco would actually be last. By the way, Alex Cobb, I wanted to point this out. His past 13 starts since returning from an IL stint for a neck injury, he has a 2.82 ERA, a 1.20 WHIP, 8.3 K per nine. But to have a 2.82 ERA over a 13 start stretch, I mean, he's kind of become who we hoped he'd be very quietly. A lot of those starts are on the shorter side. Even this one at Minnesota was only 5 innings. But that's partly why I give him the edge over Kyle Gibson there, even though Cobb's matchup is slightly worse.
All right, let's get into waiver wire pitchers part 2. We had Domingo Germán with the longest start of the season at the Oakland A's. He went 7 shutout with 5 strikeouts in that one. Eduardo Rodriguez has allowed just 1 earned run over 2 starts since returning to the Tigers, and he is 47% rostered going up against the Mariners this week. I didn't mention for Germán, he's at Tampa Bay this upcoming week. David Peterson, strong start against the Rockies. He went 6 shutout with 7 strikeouts. He is up against the Nationals this week. And then Germán Marquez actually outdueled Max Scherzer on Saturday. He had a great start, 7 shutout, only 1 hit, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. He is at the Reds this week, Scotty. So we've got Domingo Germán at Tampa Bay, Erod at home against the Mariners, David Peterson at home against the Nationals, and Germán Marquez at the Cincinnati Reds. Who do you like most out of that group?
David Peterson by a lot. I like him most rest of season. I like him most this week going against the Nationals. In fact, I like him more this week than anybody in the previous group. So Nick Lodolo, I had number 1 in the previous group. I'd put David Peterson over him. Now, I am a little concerned because even though Peterson bounced back in his second start back in the rotation, he bounced back with the nice starts, 6 shutout innings, 7 strikeouts. He still threw a slider just 25% of the time. And remember when he was picking up steam before getting bumped for Jacob deGrom back around the All-Star break, a little after the All-Star break, Peterson was throwing that slider more like 40% of the time than 25. So I feel even better about him if he got that slider percentage up in this start. But the results were good nonetheless, and I do think there is some talent there. So he would be my preferred choice here. Ranking the rest, distant second would be Eduardo Rodriguez going against the Mariners, then Germán Marquez at Cincinnati. Marquez has been pretty solid for a while now.
I have his last 9 starts, Scott, 3.52 ERA during that time.
And 7 of them were quality starts.
Yeah.
So he would be next, and then last would be Domingo Germán. I really don't see it for Domingo Germán. I don't understand. Like, he's had some success recently, but I don't really see how he's doing that, and can't really convince myself that it's going to continue.
All right, we got one more group here, and it includes Roansy Contreras. Now has 2 strong starts in a row. Made me look foolish because I made him the fortune favors the brave 2-start pitcher this past week, and he was pretty damn good. 5 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts at the Phillies, 17 swinging strikes. Massive number there. 12 on the slider for Contreras. Drew Smyly has allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in 5 straight starts. He was at the Brewers. He went 6 shutout with only 2 strikeouts. Austin Voth, another really strong start Sunday at the Astros. 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, 4 strikeouts. He is 23% rostered going up against the Oakland A's this week. Dean Kramer has allowed just 4 earned runs total over his last 3 starts. I don't know what got into the Astros this weekend, or maybe it was just the Orioles pitched really well, so kudos to them. But Kramer at the Astros, 7 2/3, 1 run, 3 strikeouts in that one. And then Bailey Falter had a quality start up against the Pirates, 6 innings, 3 runs, 6 strikeouts for him. So quite a few names here, Scotty. We got 5 of them. Contreras is going up against the Blue Jays this week. Drew Smyly at the Cardinals. Austin Voth versus the A's. Dean Kramer also versus the A's. And Bailey Falter at the Diamondbacks. How do you rank those?
Okay, so I'm really having to weigh their upcoming matchups, which is why I'm going a little slower here. I guess the two Orioles guys, just because they're going against Oakland, have to be 1 and 2. I give a slight edge to Voth, I think. I think Voth has a little bit better bat missing ability than Dean Kramer, but they're very close. They're very similar. Like the whole Orioles rotation is like that same profile of fly ball pitchers who throw strikes and won't blow you away with the strikeouts. But okay, I'll go Voth over Kramer, and then Falter would be third. And then Smiley, and then Contreras. And what's funny is if we're doing upside, if we were doing a rest of season thing, it might be exactly backwards.
Yeah, you might be right about that. Yeah,
I like Falter. I talked about him taking Wheeler's place last week, and this is now 3 straight quality starts he's had at the major league level, and really impressive minor league numbers. We don't have an update really on what's going on with Wheeler, right? It was kind of surprising that he went on the IL, and as far as I know, it could be a minimal stay or it could be a season-ending injury. We haven't heard anything, right?
Oh yeah, there's not really much going on. I might have had a note later on. Yeah, so he is expected to begin throwing in 1 to 3 days from Sunday. So
so that doesn't sound like a season-ending injury, and maybe Falter doesn't have much rest of season appeal because of that. So good to know.
Yeah, just for Bailey Falter, I did add him in a few deeper leagues just at the Diamondbacks this week. Obviously, they're getting Corbin Carroll, but they have struggled quite a bit against left-handed pitching. So he's someone I'm interested in. Some waiver wire hitters. Let's take a look at one of the top ones from the weekend. Yandy Diaz has just quietly performed this year. I know he doesn't hit for a ton of power. He doesn't steal bases, but the batting average is really good, and he's awesome in points leagues. He walks a ton. He leads off for the Tampa Bay Rays. So he had 6 hits this weekend. He had a sock in the shoe on Friday, his 8th homer, his 2nd steal. He's 59% rostered. The problem for this upcoming week, Scott, is that the Rays only have 5 games.
Yeah, that's a problem. He's not among my sleeper hitters for this week, but he has been a few times this year. So in points leagues, he is at 2.81 points per game. And let's see, what's a good comparison for that? Well, that's more than Tommy Edman. Tommy Edman's at 2.79. It's not Studley, but it's usable. Yandy Diaz in that format.
Especially at third base, right? Like we talked about it all season. It's really not a good position. So if you do need someone, I think Yandy Diaz, fine. Definitely in points leagues. Some middle infield ads, I think more so for deeper leagues based on the names I have here. Rodolfo Castro plays for the Pirates. He had 4 hits, including a home run across 2 games this weekend. His last 15 games, he's batting .327 with 3 homers and 2 steals. He's only 2% rostered. David Fletcher had 7 hits with a steal this weekend. He's 11% rostered. He's been leading off consistently for the Angels. And then Isaac Paredes had a double dong on Sunday. He now has 4 homers over his last 6 games. Might be heating back up. Doesn't play every day. And again, the Rays have 5 games this week. So I don't know how excited I can get about it. Scott, what do you think about those 3 names?
Yeah, we're getting pretty deep here. David Fletcher is probably my favorite. We've seen him be a viable 12-team guy in the past. He has 8. No, okay, that's strikeouts. He has 8 strikeouts on the year. I was thinking that was stolen bases for a second, but that's what he does. Is like he never strikes out. So in points leagues, especially, it bolsters his value. Of course, it's harder to start him in points leagues because lineup sizes are generally smaller. And let's see, the Angels matchup's not so great this week. So yeah, I mean, I don't really see David Fletcher as a short-term play even right now, but if he stays hot like this, I could see him becoming that, one of the last 4 weeks of the season.
A few deeper corner infield ads from the weekend. Hunter Dozier had a huge game on Sunday. He went 4 for 6 with a double, 2 steals, and 3 runs scored. Franchi Cordero now has a homer in 4 of his last 6 games. The problem, he's only started 4 of those, and Trevor Story is now back. He returned on Saturday, and it sounds like Christian Arroyo is going to get some playing time at first base. So I don't know how much Franchi Cordero will actually play moving forward. And then Jeimer Candelario had 5 hits this weekend, including 2 homers himself. Scott, I know you had Frenchie as a sleeper hitter this week, but
Yeah.
I saw that note. It was something that Alex Cora said that Arroyo will get, quote, a ton of playing time at first base. So,
well, I don't care for that. I mean, Franchy Cordero's the left-handed hitter there. Start him against those righties because he keeps homering. He's homered 4 times in 6 games, you said, since he came back?
Yep.
And that was after homering 3 times in his final 5 minor league games. So he's on quite the power binge right now. Yeah, I mean, look, he's only 2% rostered. It's obviously a very deep recommendation, but we're just going to have to see how the playing time shakes out, I think.
All right, some deeper outfield ads as well. We've got Joe Adell. He went 4 for 5 on Friday with a double dong. 37 games since returning to the majors for Joe Adell. He's hitting .218 with 3 homers, 3 steals, a 39% strikeout rate. So it's just not happening right now for Joe Adell, despite that big game on Friday. Mark Mathias, he is a outfielder with the Texas Rangers. He had 7 hits with a home run in 3 games from Thursday through Saturday. He didn't start on Sunday. He's older. He's 28 years old, but the minor league profile is kind of interesting. Some batting average, a little power and speed. This is obviously a very deep league recommendation, Mark Mathias. Will Myers had 5 hits this weekend, including 2 homers with the Padres. And then Jake McCarthy went 4 for 5 on Saturday with 2 steals and 3 runs scored. Huge game. He's playing well. I just don't know what they're going to do with the playing time for DBacks outfielders moving forward right now that Corbin Carroll's coming up. I don't think they could sit McCarthy the way he's playing. So he's 26% rostered. He's got 7 games this week, but 3 of them against lefties. So what do you think about those 4, Scotty? Adell, Mark Mathias, Will Myers, and Jake McCarthy.
I mean, McCarthy's playing time is going to be sporadic. It already was, and it's going to be even more so now. I mean, we were wanting to see Stone Garrett play more. He started for the first time in 5 games Sunday and hit a home run. Well, obviously his playing time is going to be less now with Corbin Carroll in the fold as well. So, and then let's see, the Padres called up Eggy Rosario. And though he hasn't started yet, I can see that cutting into Will Myers playing time. Like it's just so deep. The only leagues I play in that are deep enough to care about it. I mean, obviously we've cared about Joe Adell in the past, but he hasn't shown enough apart from this 2-homer game to make us care about him now. Only my deepest leagues like AL, NL only. Yeah, if McCarthy got to play more, that stolen base potential is nice, but I think that's only going to become less, as I just said.
I think the ideal format for Jake McCarthy right now is daily lineup leagues, right? So whenever he's playing, you could just throw him in there, but he's hitting for batting average. He's stealing bases right now. I wouldn't mind him in some of those daily head-to-head category leagues. That is Jake McCarthy. Before we hit the break, just want to remind everybody once again that the Fantasy Football Today Draftathon supporting St. Jude's Children's Hospital is rapidly approaching. It's coming up this Wednesday, August 31st. I believe they're going to be streaming from 6 p.m. to midnight. They're going to do a lot of fun stuff, fantasy football related. They're going to do a draft. They're going to have all different kind of guests on. I'll be on there for like 30, 40 minutes, something like that. So please come and hang out and support charity. And we mentioned that we have a bunch of listings open right now on their eBay store. So right now you can bid on a guest spot on this podcast, and you could choose to use it in the off season, draft season, whenever you want to hop on the podcast. You can bid on that right now on eBay. And again, all proceeds going to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And we also mentioned on Friday that we're auctioning off a pre-draft Zoom call for 2023. So, March, around that time, you could talk with Scott, you could talk with me. So there's 2 different listings, and you could choose which one of us you want to bid on. And we'll hang out for like 20, 30 minutes before your draft, and we'll help you figure out your strategy, players you want to target, whatever it might be. So lots of fun things going on right now, and it's all for a great cause. So those links are in the podcast and the YouTube description if you want to get in on the action. Let's take a break, and we'll hit the news and notes here on Fantasy Baseball Today. The news and notes. Let's start with the big one from the weekend. Justin Verlander pulled from his start on Sunday with right calf discomfort, and I did not see anything more after that, but I will look that up now. Would you take a chance and leave him in your lineup this week, Scotty? Justin Verlander.
I don't think so. Not unless we get something more definitive. Like you can't afford to take a goose egg from an SP spot. Obviously it depends on the depth of the league too, but in general, I think I'd sit him.
So the Astros have off days on Monday and Thursday this week. So they probably can set it up where they could just skip Verlander one time through the rotation if they want to do that. So yeah, I'm with you. I think they're probably going to play it pretty safe here. Clayton Kershaw looks set to return and be part of a 6-man Dodgers rotation. He could be back as soon as this week. We don't know for sure when he'll be back. Scott, would you take a chance and start Clayton Kershaw?
It sounds like Thursday Thursday's the day rosters expand by 2, and it's that seems like a likely scenario, but it's not confirmed. So I think I would also play it safe with Kershaw if I could afford to.
All right. Trevor Story was activated on Saturday. He went 1 for 3 with a run scored. As I mentioned, Alex Cora said Christian Arroyo will be playing a lot of first base moving forward. And Jarren Duran was actually optioned back to AAA as well. Justin Steele, dealing with lower back tightness, will not be eligible to pitch in Toronto this upcoming week, which means his next start will likely come at the St. Louis Cardinals later on in the week. Clay Holmes, as we mentioned earlier, through live batting practice on Friday, and he seems on track to be activated on Monday. He's 77% rostered, could be out there in some shallower leagues. Totally fine. Dropping Josh Hader for Clay Holmes in those shallower formats if he's available. Hunter Green is expected to begin a rehab assignment Thursday at AAA. He's been on the IL with a shoulder strain, and he's 63% rostered. Scott, would you be looking to re-add Hunter Green if he were dropped?
I mean, not in every single league, but there are pitchers more rostered than 63% that I would prefer having Green to them. Sure.
Is he a higher priority than someone like Nick Lodolo or Reed Detmers?
No, he's behind them.
Okay. So probably in the David Peterson group?
Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer Peterson. Now, Carlos Carrasco's absence isn't expected to be long-term. That's what got Peterson back in the rotation. He has, last report is he's going to throw a simulated game Monday. So he's not going to be back this week. You're definitely going to get Peterson's next turn. But will he really stick in the rotation all season? Unless somebody else gets hurt, and obviously that could happen. But if it doesn't happen, then, can't totally count on Peterson being around. So that might, we're thinking short term anyway. I'd rather have Peterson, but that's that makes it kind of a close call between him and Hunter Green.
Nestor Cortez is optimistic that his absence will be a brief one. Tyler Glasnow signed a 2-year extension with the Rays on Friday, keeping him under contract through 2024. Jack Flaherty will make his 5th rehab start on Wednesday and is eyeing a return on Labor Day, Monday, September 5th, which would set him up to be a 2-start pitcher, not this upcoming week, but obviously the week after that, Scott. Were you looking to add Jack Flaherty in any leagues? Because I saw him available even in some deeper 15-team leagues on Sunday.
Yeah, obviously you add him in those, and I have him in leagues much shallower than that too. Right now, he's still in an IL spot. If you're in a weekly lineup league, he's not coming back till next Monday. So for this whole upcoming week, he's going to be he's going to be somebody you can keep in an IL spot. And there's no reason not to add him if you have a free IL spot. If you just had somebody go on the IL, like I had Vinny Pasquantino go on the IL in the last week in a couple leagues, and it was either drop Vinny Pasquantino or drop somebody else who's already in an IL spot. And I think I did drop Flaherty in a league or two. So it's not like a high priority, but we all know Flaherty's upside. And while he's easily stashable in an IL spot, obviously you got to make sure that he is stashed.
76% rostered is Jack Flaherty. Could be out there in some shallower leagues. Tyler McGill threw a bullpen session on Friday and is scheduled for live batting practice Monday. He sounds like will return as a reliever this season for the New York Mets. JT Brubaker was placed on the paternity list, which means he will not start Monday as expected. Mackenzie Gore is scheduled to throw another bullpen session Monday or Tuesday before facing live hitters in batting practice. Well, facing hitters in live batting practice. I read that wrong. I said live hitters. I hope they're live. Anyway, Mackenzie Gore, we could see him later on in the season, obviously traded to the Washington Nationals, but not really a high priority at this point. It appears that Dylan Carlson and Paul DeJong have both lost out on their starting jobs with the St. Louis Cardinals. I know Corey Dickerson's really hot right now. Brendan Donovan is heating back up. Scott, is it okay to drop Dylan Carlson and Paul DeJong?
Well, DeJong easily. Carlson pretty easily too. I mean, I haven't understood the Carlson thing for a while now. Even when it was the trade deadline and the Cardinals were in the mix for Soto and it kept being reported that the hang up was Dylan Carlson. I'm like, why is Dylan Carlson the hang up? Like, what? He's a more I buy that he's a more valuable real life player than fantasy player, but like, clearly he hasn't been that valuable in real life this year because now they're beginning to bench him.
Yeah. I mean, he's got some tools, but hasn't really put it together yet. That is Dylan Carlson. Players who went to the IL this weekend: Danny Jimenez went to the 60-day IL with a right shoulder strain, and AJ Puck picked up his 4th save of the season on Sunday, 20% rostered. So widely available if you're looking for saves. Not that I think the Oakland A's are going to win many games rest of the season. Aroldis Chapman.
I think Zach Jackson is the priority over AJ Puck in fantasy anyway. It's been a bit of a timeshare before Danny Jimenez came back, and even after he came back, it wasn't clear that he was back in the closer role. But generally speaking, Zach Jackson has filled the higher leverage spot for the A's.
All right. Other players who went to the IL: Aroldis Chapman with an infection in his leg, Patrick Wisdom with a left ring finger sprain retroactive to August 26th, Jorge Alfaro with right knee inflammation, Cole Reagans with a strained left calf, and Yoan Moncada with a left hamstring strain. Scott, any interest in Romy Gonzalez in deeper leagues? He has now led off 3 straight games for the White Sox, and I feel like he's done some interesting things in the minors.
He did last year, certainly. It's I'm not optimistic. I'll just say that.
All right. So pass on Romy Gonzalez. Some other prospect notes. We had quite a few promotions this weekend. Brewers outfield prospect Garrett Mitchell was promoted on Saturday. He was their 1st-round pick in 2020. He is a 23-year-old outfielder, as I mentioned. This season in the minors, he was hitting .287 with 5 homers, 17 steals across 68 games. Scott mentioned Eggy Rosario was promoted by the Padres. He's an outfielder, and it's actually spelled EGUY. So your natural inclination will probably be to call him E-Guy, but it's actually Eggy. And really interesting prospect in the minors this season. .293 batting average, 21 homers, 20 steals, and OPS approaching 900. The Padres also called up catcher Luis Campusano, and he was hitting .298 with 14 homers and 846 OPS. Scott, where, if anywhere, are you looking to add these 3 names: Garrett Mitchell, Eggy Rosario, and Luis Campusano?
I think the most interesting for fantasy purposes is Garrett Mitchell, because he could potentially impact the stolen base category. And because it doesn't seem like the Padres are that motivated to play Eggy Rosario. He did have a pretty good steals total in the minors, but Mitchell, that's a clearer part of his profile. I'd say, if he's going to be good in the majors, it's going to be partly because he steals bases. He might only play against right-handed pitchers, and he probably won't provide much power. There was some hope he could grow into power when he was first drafted a couple years ago, but it was going to take an overhaul of his swing because he puts the ball on the ground a ton. It's clear he was coached in college to take advantage of his speed, the dirt, and beating the wrap to first base because his ground ball rate is off the charts. So I think Mitchell, he's really only worth pursuing in those 5 outfielder roto leagues. And then the others, probably not at all. Have to be in a really deep league.
All right. Cade Cavalli made his debut on Friday, and he will make another start this week against the Oakland A's. He got roughed up in his first outing. He gave up 7 runs over 4 1/3. Actually, I think it might have been 6 runs. I might have wrote that down wrong. But anyway, it wasn't a great start. He did have 13 swinging strikes. He had 6 strikeouts, 24% rostered. Scott, what'd you see from Cade Cavalli? Are you looking to add him anywhere with this matchup against the Oakland A's?
No, I mean, that's too big of a leap of faith for me, given how poorly this first start went. There's definitely talent here. Like, I think he has a bright future, but growing pains. Gotta give him a chance to go through them.
It actually was 7 earned runs, so all right. A little bit worse than I thought. A couple other prospect notes. Mets catcher Francisco Alvarez is dealing with a right ankle injury at AAA, and he could be done for the season. Rangers prospect Dustin Harris dealing with a sprained left wrist and also expected to shut it down rest of season. Starters sit these banged up players. Ronald Acuna was out the last 2 games with knee soreness, but expects to return on Tuesday.
Yep. So they're saying he's expected to return. I'll go ahead and start him.
All right. Eloy Jimenez sat on Sunday with soreness in his right leg and just seems like he's been dealing with this leg injury all season long.
Yeah, they may have to keep him at DH once he's back. He seems likely to return Tuesday. They got an extra rest day built in there on Monday, but it's not as definitive as Acuna. So in shallow 3 outfielder leagues, I might consider sitting Jimenez, but for the most part, I'm okay starting him.
Yordan Alvarez is dealing with left hand soreness. It was previously his right hand that was giving him issues. Scott, what do you think about Yordan?
Always with this guy. Always. Man, he could be so good too. I think with that stat I saw on him, because the hand, I guess both of the hands have been an issue for a while now. Only 4 extra base hits in August for Yordan Alvarez. That being said, probably start him. Doesn't sound like he's going to miss much more time than this.
Brandon Lau is dealing with a right elbow contusion and has missed 2 straight games. What do you think about it?
He sits a lot anyway, so yeah, let's sit him.
All right. Jorge Polanco missed Sunday's game with knee soreness.
I don't think you're missing much by sitting him too. Obviously, you have to have a replacement at either of the middle infield spots where you're starting him.
Luis Robert has now missed 3 straight with this left wrist issue, which seems like a pretty big problem.
Yeah, I'd lean towards sitting him.
All right. How about these starting pitchers? Starter sit. Joe Ryan put together his first scoreless start since April 27th, and he was up against the Giants. He went 6 shutout with 8 strikeouts. He had 17 swinging strikes. Slider velocity was up a little bit in this one. Did give up a good amount of hard contact, but the problem, he's going up against the Red Sox this week, Scott. What do you think about Joe Ryan?
It's not a must to start him, but it's not a flat no either. It just depends what else you have. I'm okay with it.
Okay. Edward Cabrera, unfortunately, my guy, knocked around by the Dodgers on Sunday, which many pitchers do this season. Yeah, I think the Dodgers are now 50 games over 500. They're 88-38 on the season, which is just crazy. I think they're on pace for 113 or 114 wins.
Oh, yeah. Historic season for the Dodgers.
They are so good. And it's just naturally a bad start for Cabrera because the Dodgers are really patient and then they hit the ball a ton. And so, yeah, rough matchup for him. And the problem for Cabrera, as much as I like him, only 51% started right now. He's at the Atlanta Braves. Scott, I think I would look to get Cabrera out of my lineups this week.
Yeah, I'd lean no as well. In a categories league, you might have to weigh, okay, do I need strikeouts more, wins more, or do I need ERA and whip more and make your decision based on that? But there's definitely the potential for the Braves to do something similar to what the Dodgers did against him. The Braves do strike out a lot, though, so I could see it going either way.
Okay, let's get into a few pitchers' duels from this weekend.
It's time to duel.
Shohei Ohtani at Alek Manoah. Ohtani was awesome. 7 shutout innings with 9 strikeouts. He had 17 swinging strikes. His ERA is now down to 2.67. He's got 176 strikeouts over 128 innings pitched. Just an absolute massive strikeout total for Ohtani this season. And Alek Manoah on the other side, he had, for some reason, I didn't write down his actual line, but he had 14 swinging strikes, so I could tell you that. I think he went 7 innings, 1 run, 14 swinging strikes, and his ERA for the season, 2.60. It's been a really good season for both of these guys. Scotty, anything you'd like to add on Manoah and Ohtani?
8 strikeouts in those 7 innings for Manoah, 1 earned run allowed. The velocity on his fastball was down 1.1 miles per hour, so it was interesting that he was so effective. Obviously, the Angels have been a good matchup, though they do have Trout back now. Nothing really major to take away. Manoah, we've wondered at times if he was beginning to fade as he enters uncharted territory with the innings, but I don't see crystal clear evidence of that.
Alrighty. The other pitcher's duel that I saw, Sandy Alcantara up against Dustin May, and Alcantara was just amazing. His last time out, he was up against the Dodgers and he got rocked. So you know what he does this time? He just goes out, throws a complete game, 6 hits, 1 run, 10 strikeouts. He had 19 swinging strikes on 111 pitches. 10 of those came on the slider, which he leaned into in this start. He threw it 34% of the time. It seems like if Sandy Alcantara wants to be more of a strikeout pitcher, he probably could if he would just throw the slider more. It's just, I think he likes pitching to contact so he can go deeper into his starts. But yeah, now he has 4 complete games on the season. That's more than any team combined this year, which is just awesome. And then Dustin May on the other side, he went 6 innings, 2 runs allowed, 4 strikeouts, 11 swinging strikes in this one. And he's at the Mets this week, Scott. Would you start Dustin May in that outing?
I'd be fine with it. I wouldn't call him a must start, but okay. I'd be fine with it.
Anything on Sandy?
Not really. I think he's good. He's really good.
By the way,
understatement. So
we're doing the Scott White Dynasty League consolation bracket right now. We're kind of, depending on how this shakes out, right? Like this loser bracket, it will determine your draft spot in the first-year player draft, which obviously is a pretty big deal in Dynasty Leagues. I was winning all week, Scott. Then Sandy Alcantara happened. The person I was going up against, he put up 33 points on my head in the Scott White Dynasty League. And I had 2 starts to his 1 on Sunday. And I think I was down by like 3 or 4 points. So I'm like, all right, I got a shot. Kohei Arihara gives me negative 10.5 points.
I told you, Frank. Don't trust him.
2014 Dynasty League. So I got some scrubs in the lineup, admittedly,
So you're going to be the only higher seeded team, like better seeded team, to lose in the consolation bracket in round 1 of consolation bracket.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott.
So that stinks.
Yeah.
you will now not have one of the first 8 picks in the minor league draft next year.
Yeah. I think I had 9th or 10th last year too. So whatever. Yeah. I'm already used to it. Some pitching standouts, part 1, other names from the weekend. Freddie Peralta pitched 6 no-hit innings up against the Cubs. He had 5 strikeouts. And I did notice the velocity down a little bit, nearly 1 mile per hour on the fastball. His curve was down 2 miles per hour. The slider was down 2.6. So, don't like to see that, but he still managed to pitch really well in that start for Freddie Peralta. Spencer Strider has allowed exactly 1 earned run in 3 straight starts. He was at the Cardinals. He went 6 innings, 1 run allowed, 7 strikeouts in that one. And then Garrett Cole picked up his 7th double-digit strikeout start of the season. He went 7 1/3, 1 run allowed, 11 strikeouts in that one. Scott, anything you'd like to add on Peralta, Strider, and Garrett Cole?
I hate to keep saying no, but
hey, that's fine.
I guess we've been harping on Freddie Peralta's walks coming back from the IL. He actually has a lower BB per 9 rate than he did last year, when obviously he was great last year. So I don't think there's a lot to worry about with Peralta. He's fine.
Okay. Standouts part 2. We've got Shane Bieber at the Mariners. He went 7 innings, 2 runs allowed. 1 of those were earned, 9 strikeouts to 0 walks. Brandon Woodruff had a double-digit strikeout effort up against the Cubs. He went 6 shutout with 10 strikeouts to just 1 walk. And then Luis Castillo posted his 3rd double-digit strikeout start of the season up against the Guardians. 6 innings, 1 run, 10 strikeouts in that one, 21 swinging strikes for Luis Castillo. Scott, anything on these 3? Bieber, Woodruff, Castillo.
I can point out that in his past 6 starts now, Shane Bieber has a 1.56 ERA, a 0.92 WHIP, and 9.6 K per 9.
All right. So he's been very good.
Yep.
Standouts part 3. We've got Julio Urias. He was at the Marlins, 6 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts. Max Scherzer had his 6th double-digit strikeout start of the season. He was up against the Rockies. He went 7 innings, 1 run, 11 strikeouts there. Dylan Cease, another dominant start at home against the Diamondbacks. He went 8 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts in that one. And then Robbie Ray just keeps chugging away. Another strong start against the Guardians, 7 shutout with 7 strikeouts for him. Anything here, Scotty? Robbie Ray, Dylan Cease, Max Scherzer, Julio Urias.
It was a nice bounce back start for Cease because remember his previous 2 were both short. He allowed a combined 7 earned runs in 10 1/3 innings. So he is, I don't think anybody was saying he's not a top 12 pitcher anymore, but he's not losing steam, apparently.
All right. The call to the bullpen. We'll start with the Marlins. On Friday, Tanner Scott entered with a 1-run lead. He gave up a solo homer to Mookie Betts. And actually, no, I lied. There were hitting standouts. You know what? Mookie Betts, I wanted to mention a lot earlier in the show, and I just completely missed it. He was going to be my, just a little shout out for, oh my goodness gracious. Monster weekend for Mookie Betts. 8 hits, 4 homers, a double dong on Friday, a steal. He's now batting .281. He's got 31 homers, 12 steals. And I think shaping up, Scott, to be probably a top 5 pick once again in fantasy next year. That is Mookie Betts.
You know, he's only 1 away from his career high in home runs now.
Wow.
Mookie Betts, a guy who, gosh, he'd have to fall flat on his face to miss out going to the Hall of Fame at this point, I would say. And he's won an MVP before. But yeah, 1 away from his career high.
Awesome stuff for Mookie Betts. But other hitting standouts that I wanted to highlight here. Mike Trout has 4 homers in his last 5 games. Back looks pretty good for now. Nate Lowe had 2 more homers this weekend. He now has 6 home runs in his last 10 games. He's up to 85% rostered, and rightfully so. The batting average also now up to 300 for Nate Lowe on the season. Ian Happ had a double dong on Friday. He now has 15 homers and 7 steals total. Christian Yelich had 8 hits and 2 home runs this weekend. Over his last 12 games, he's batting .383 with 3 homers, a 93.8 mile per hour average exit velocity. The problem, 56% ground ball rate during that time. Corey Seager had a double dong on Sunday. He is now up to 28 home runs as well.
Also a career high.
Nice. Yes. And, you know, uncharacteristically, his batting average has been lower this season. 256, I saw that he's now up to, but his XBA has been much better all season. So
yep,
that's just something to pay attention to in the off season. If Seager doesn't get that batting average up to where it should be, you might get him at a suppressed cost just because, you know, people see that overall batting average not being great.
I still think we haven't seen the best of Corey Seager yet. I think he has a genuine MVP caliber season in there that hopefully one of these years will come to fruition.
All right, some bullpen updates. I already mentioned for the Marlins on Friday, Tanner Scott gave up a game-tying home run to Mookie Betts. He then loaded the bases via walks, and then Cole Sulser entered, and he gave up an RBI single to Justin Turner. I still feel like they should go to Dylan Floro at some point, but Don Mattingly loves him from some Tanner Scott. For the Phillies on Friday, David Robertson pitched in the 8th inning with a 2-run lead. He was facing the top of the Pirates lineup. And then Brad Hand pitched in the 9th, and he picked up his 5th save. Brad Hand was actually a name I was targeting in some of those deeper category leagues here on Sunday night. I'm just so desperate for saves. It's rough out there, Scotty. For the Red Sox on Friday, Garrett Whitlock pitched a clean 9th for his 6th save. He is 56% rostered. And then on Saturday, John Schreiber recorded the final 4 outs for his 5th save of the season. I think it's mostly Garrett Whitlock, Scott, but I guess they're still going to mix and match a little bit.
Well, he had recorded 3 of 4 for the Red Sox prior to that Schreiber save. And for the Schreiber save, I believe he had worked 3 of the previous 4 days. So he needed a day off. Whitlock did.
Okay. For the Rangers on Friday, Jonathan Hernandez pitched the 8th inning with a 3-run lead. He was facing the heart of the Tigers lineup, 4, 5, and 6. And then Jose Leclerc actually came in the 9th. He gave up 2 runs, but picked up his 2nd save. Do you think maybe Hernandez is more of the higher leverage reliever, Scott, and we start to see Leclerc mixed in a little bit more?
I don't think we're going to see enough of that to care about Leclerc.
Okay.
It is worth noting that on Sunday, in what was a 1-run loss for the Rangers, Hernandez worked the 9th with Matt Moore working the 8th and Jose Leclerc working the 7th. So I do think Hernandez is still the only Rangers reliever worth having in fantasy.
Okay. For the Cubs on Friday, Brandon Hughes gave up a game-tying solo home run in the 9th inning, and then it was Manuel Rodriguez who picked up his first save of the season in extras. Scott, Rowan Wick was someone that I was actually looking to drop on Sunday night just because they're using multiple relievers. The Cubs aren't great. Wick's been pretty bad recently. What do you think about him as a drop?
I mean, it depends how scarce saves are in your league. If you're pursuing Brad Hand in your league, you probably shouldn't drop Rowan Wick.
Right.
I would say that Brandon Hughes is the Cubs reliever to have right now, but Wick is not that far behind.
So I actually wound up dropping Rowan Wick for Nick Martinez. Is that something you can get behind?
Yeah, it's close, but yeah.
Okay. For the Yankees on Friday, Wandy Peralta gave up a run, but picked up his 3rd save. Again, sounds like Clay Holmes will be back on Monday. For the Angels on Saturday, Jimmy Herget pitched the final 2 innings for his 3rd save. And it seems like they've really been mixing and matching a lot too. So I don't know that there's a singular name to own, Scott, from the Angels bullpen.
I would still guess Ryan Tepera, but yeah, it's a mess. Tepera wasn't available for this series because it was in Toronto.
Yeah. For the Padres on Saturday, we mentioned Nick Martinez picked up his 6th save. For the Nationals on Sunday, Carl Edwards pitched the 8th inning once again, and Kyle Finnegan picked up his 8th save. He is 31% rostered. For the Astros on Sunday, Rafael Montero gave up a run, but picked up his 9th save. Ryan Presley is currently on the IL, and Montero is 38% rostered, so pretty widely available. For the Tigers on Sunday, Gregory Soto recorded just 1 out in the 9th. He gave up 3 earned runs. Joe Jimenez recorded the final 2 outs for his 2nd save of the season. To stream or not to stream, Monday is a very light day of action, Scotty. And we have Brian Bayo at the Twins, Jose Suarez versus the Yankees, and Ranger Suarez at the Diamondbacks.
Ranger Suarez at the Diamondbacks is the only one to look into there. For some reason, I always associate Ranger Suarez with the Diamondbacks too. I don't know why. I do that with 2 pitchers. Ranger Suarez, I think Diamondbacks, and Miles Michaelis, I think Marlins. Neither one of them has had anything to do with those organizations, but like my mind wants to say that's who they're with. I don't get it. You think Ranger Suarez, I think Rangers, right?
Yeah. I just realized he's 90% rostered, so he's probably not really available in any leagues, but
it is weird that he's rostered in that many leagues though. Yeah.
Surprising. I guess he was a 2-star pitcher this past week, so that's probably why. Wait, no, I lied. He's pitching on Monday. That doesn't make any sense. All right, forget what I just said. On Tuesday, we have Spencer Watkins at the Guardians, Dakota Hudson at the Reds, Eric Fetty versus the A's, Matt Manning versus the Mariners, Adrian Hauser versus the Pirates, and Mitch Keller at the Brewers.
Matt Manning against the Mariners. I mean, you should pick him up in any format for this week because he has a 2nd start against the Royals, and he's coming off the best 2 starts of his career with hopefully a fixed slider, sort of like Reed Detmers. I don't really care for any of the others. If you forced me to start one, it might actually be Eric Fetty against the Athletics, but not something I'm eager to do.
All right, we're going to wrap there. For Scott, I am Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching Fantasy Baseball today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.